Alright, so as soon as I saw this article, I knew that I was going to be talking about this today. You guys know I'm big on privacy, trying to protect who I am as a person, when I'm on the internet, that sort of thing. But it seems like now, apparently, Edward Snowden, if you're not familiar with who that is, he's a whistleblower, and he actually linked some documents, some NSA documents, to the New York Times and the Guardian today, basically exposing that the government has been using games like World of Warcraft, Second Life, and also the Xbox Live platform since 2008 to try and monitor terrorist activity on these particular platforms and services. Now, I think we all know that when we're on Xbox Live, when we're on PlayStation Network, when we're on the internet in general, nothing's really private. Like, everything you're doing on the internet is being tracked somewhere on some server. You know what I mean? It's being stored somewhere out there in the internet world. So you're really not, you've practically already given up your privacy when you're online. I mean, yes, you have, aliases. I have an alias, XONEVANT versus my real name. But still, at the end of the day, through, IP addresses and all that kind of stuff, you can still somewhat be tracked. You know what I mean? Especially when you're looking at it in terms of the government looking into what you're doing. It just seems like that the U.S. government has this mentality that we're all terrorists. You know what I mean? Everybody's a terrorist until proven otherwise. And they're willing to go into, like I said, Xbox Live, which is an entertainment platform, an entertainment service, World of Warcraft, obviously just a video game, where people socialize, and they're basically monitoring our activities and, getting the skinny on who we are and who we're interacting with and that sort of thing. Now, both Microsoft and Blizzard have both came out and stated that they didn't have any idea that the U.S. government was snooping around their platforms and services and that sort of thing. And now at first when I read this, I didn't believe it. I was like, yeah, that's just probably some PR stunt. They're probably all in on it. And that still may very well be true. But another update has surfaced to this article stating that now Microsoft, along with Google, AOL, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Yahoo, have actually banded together and launched a website called Reform Government Surveillance. I'll put a link in the description below if you guys want to check it out. And it says it lays out 5 main principles that urges Obama and Washington to consider when it comes to privacy. Now, it almost seems like a contradiction, right? Because you've got Microsoft and Facebook and Twitter and all these other services that they already have our privacy. You know what I mean? And we give it to them voluntarily. We post pictures on Facebook and we post, all of our friends on all these different social media platforms. We're giving up our privacy to the world through all of these services. And somehow we've been convinced that that's okay. Like, that's the right thing to do. That's the normal thing to do. But see, I come from a day where, privacy is all you have left as a human being. I mean, that's what you're trying to protect the most. That's the era that I grew up in. So that's why I'm always a little bit cautious about, who I interact with on the internet, which websites I go to, that sort of thing, because you just never know what's out there in the internet and who's watching. So let's go ahead and talk about the bigger picture here. Like I said earlier, it seems like they are basically accusing everybody of being a terrorist until proven not guilty. You know what I mean? Which is so backwards from the way that it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But because of all this terrorist stuff and, the way our government works here in the U.S., it's almost like you're guilty until proven innocent. And they're willing to go to such lengths, like, for instance, here, monitoring your Xbox Live and your World of Warcraft, just playing games. They're willing to go to that length to find out that you're not guilty. Not to mention that you can't really truly fight terrorism. I mean, you can try to fight it, but you're never going to conquer it, because anybody in the world could wake up tomorrow and decide to do something silly. You see what I mean? And then we would automatically label them terrorists. You know what I mean? As if they had had this huge plan this whole time to make it happen. And, most of the time terrorists are that way. They have a group or a network or something like that, and they're easily tracked. And you kind of know their movements and what they're about to do. But, I mean, you could take a random person tomorrow who just wakes up and he's mad at the world. Something makes him mad, something ticks him off, and then he just does something silly. And see, the way that our government has trained us now is whatever that silly thing is, maybe 30, 40 years ago, it would have just been, well, that guy, the guy did something silly. But now it's automatically going to be deemed terrorism all the time. You know what I mean? And it's so weird to me how we've fallen into that label here in the US, is that if you do anything bad now, you know what I mean? If you do anything out of the ordinary, you're a terrorist. You know, automatically. It's this thing. And like I said, I'm all about our government. I'm all about any government in the world. You know what I mean? Any society, any culture trying to protect themselves. I think that's completely 100% legit. You should always be trying to protect, you know, whatever community, culture, society, whatever. But when it comes to the point where you're so keen on trying to fight this terrorist type, you know, ideals, that you're willing to go to such lengths to hop on Xbox Live and check out what people are doing when they're playing video games, to me, that's just silly, in my opinion. Now, I think what's even crazier about this whole thing, and when you think about it, it is extremely crazy, is that, you know, we pay for Xbox Live. World of Warcraft is a pay-for service. I'm not sure about Second Life. You guys might have to help me on that one. I'm not sure if that's a pay-for service, but I do know that World of Warcraft Xbox Live is a paid-for service. So at that particular point, you're actually paying for the government to spy on you. Because when you use stuff like Google and Facebook and stuff like that, at least they're free. You know what I mean? But when you're using these services, you're actually paying money to have somebody spy on you. That's crazy, dude. That's a whole level of logic that I don't think many people are seeing. You know, when you pay for your Xbox Live membership, you're saying, hey, I want to be, you know, on these services and stuff. But then you're also paying the government to spy on you. So that's it, guys. I guess in the comments below, we can just discuss privacy in general. I mean, obviously, we know that nothing is private anymore. Once you log on to any www. Whatever, you know what I mean? Nothing's private, period. But at the same rate, for them to be snooping in on me while I'm playing my video games on Xbox Live, or, you know, like I said, I don't play WoW, but if I did, that's a little bit too far for me, man. I mean, like I said, because I'm paying for those services. I'm paying at that point. I'm basically paying for the government to check out what I'm doing. So to me, that's a really, really, really like gray area maybe. But you guys will have to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's show, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be good.